Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful Making of Desperate Measures live stream on the 28th of July. And I'm joined by three lovely J-Mods. Mod Surma, say hi.
Hello.
Mod Raven.
Hello.
And the one and only Mod Shrew as well.
Hello.
There we go. All these three beautiful and lovely J-Mods have been busy making the latest quest that got released yesterday. Do we want to do the advertisement for the quest straight away as well, Modspear? I think it works. There you go. If you haven't yet, get cracking at it. It's live now. It begins on July 27th, so it has begun. You can get cracking now. All you need is level 50 archaeology and agility, and then you need to have completed Desperate Times and the Anachronia base camp tutorial. But all of you, I imagine, have already completed the quest, and I genuinely hope you do, because there will most likely be some mild spoilers while we are talking about the making of. You will see bits and bobs or hear about them from the quest. So if you haven't played it, you might want to tune out. That is up to you. We'll try and keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but we should be good. Then the only other thing that I will mention as well right now is that we currently have the interface scaling and camera changes beta live. So if you are a fan of that, give it a go and let us know your feedback. You can find a news article on our website with a link in it which opens the beta for you. So definitely check that out. I would say it's pretty nice. We are also hearing the feedback. I know that one of the devs has been looking at potentially seeing if we can also make it scaled down, which is a very tricky thing as well. So fingers crossed on that one. Without further ado, let's start talking about Desperate Measures. We've already done the names introduction. Is it worth also telling briefly what your job is and what kind of things you do for quests and Jagex in general? Should we start with you, Mod Surma?
Absolutely. So for quests, my job is to kind of provide music and sound. For Desperate Measures in particular, I provided quite a few tracks for the quest, which we'll get onto later in this stream. Usually it's a case of myself kind of talking with people like Mod Raven and kind of getting a good idea of what it's all about, the lore, the story, and the kind of general vibe. And I try to best complement this using my music.
Cool. Mod Raven?
Yes, so I'm the person that designed the overall sort of story arc of the quest and the kind of all the different beats and things that happen in it. And I'm probably most responsible for the all the dialogue and the words and the nerdiness of it. I also did some of the mechanics, but I also farmed out and much of that to lovely people like which way do my fingers go there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then last but not least, Mod Shrew.
So yeah, I'm a new content developer on RuneScape. Beforehand, I was in QA. This was actually my first project. So for this, I worked on the Dinosaur Stampede. I did the Kerapac Lab puzzle along with Mod Rowley, who did the book and kind of the story which would lead you to the answers to the puzzle, the escape sequence, and I also plugged in the rewards other than the Rematome.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you very much. There was one question in chat regarding if you play the quest, that if you're watching a certain cutscene, that you can crash. It is something we are aware of. We were kind of hoping that something that we also deployed on the same time or at the same day would resolve that issue. Was not successful, so we are investigating the issue further. It's part of a wider thing that we are having, and we are investigating it further.
My general advice there, as with all things, is send bug reports if you encounter it.
Yes.
Because it's not immediately obvious. It's not like it's we'll just click the button that says work now. Because of course a lot of people are not having it. Most people are not having this issue. It's relatively isolated, so the more information we have, the better. If you are suffering from it and you have the game on mobile, then you can get past that section by playing it on mobile. for that bit, because of course it counts across all your accounts. But yeah, if you encounter that bug, please send a bug report. We are desperately trying to work out how it's working so we can stop it.
Yes, we don't like bugs in our game either, particularly if they crash people. I mean, like to fix them as quick as possible, and generally speaking. That one out of the way as well. We've released Desperate Measures yesterday. I think it was a really good release. I think it was a great quest, personally. I'm gonna probably attempt it over the weekend myself. I've been busy with making sure that everything else behind the scenes from the community side was going down well, which it went great. You seem to have loved it. Nice bits of feedback as well, so I'm really appreciative of all that as well. Make sure to pop it in the chat as well. I think it's always nice to see it here as well. But my question, kind of to you, Moldraven and Moldshrew, is like was today? Do you prepare different for a day like a release day than you would do for any other day? If you're going to release like a quest or a piece of content you work on, do you do things differently than you would otherwise do?
Generally, yes. You treat the day as you're going to be focusing on other things. Normally on supporting the update, which consists of trolling streamers, answering questions on Twitter, looking for bugs, trying to hotfix and fix anything that crops up immediately. Just generally sort of nosing about. Also, there's a kind of touch of mentally preparing yourself. Because when we make when you make a piece of content, specifically something like a quest, it's not just these numbers have gone live. It is no longer my problem. It is you put a lot of yourself in there. You put a lot of your heart, your creativity, your soul into a piece of content like this. So there's an element of trepidation because you're never 100% sure how people are going to take it. You think they're going to like it. You think you've made something they would enjoy, and you have to prepare yourself because if they don't like it, they will let you know, and they will let you know in great detail, and it can be sort of a bit sort of emotionally devastating. But likewise, if they like it, they'll let you know that they like it, and it can be brilliant. It's one of the best feelings.
Mm-hmm. Is there this is your first release? What's true? Is there anything you did different than you would otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, for me it was a very different day to what I've experienced so far, just because I haven't. What was that?
Sorry, I read chat.
Yeah,
I read some of the chat. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But yeah, obviously, it was my first release, so it was a very different day, kind of kicking off early and a little bit nervous to start with, and then about 10 minutes before release, I was kind of loading up streams and getting ready to watch people. And for a fair portion of my day, I was kind of just keeping an eye on stuff on Twitter, on Reddit, and watching a handful of streams, ready just in case I needed to look into anything. But no, it's all pretty good.
Did you have a restless night, or not? Were you not that nervous?
I wasn't that nervous. I'm a pretty good sleeper. Normally just out cold.
Oh, you're a chill dude. Well, I mean, both of you already alluded to that. It's been it went down quite well. Were there any things in particular or comments that you saw that you were like, oh, they're really cool and I really like that they noticed that bit or they commented on this?
There's a few of them. I haven't remembered any of them specifically, unfortunately. There were a couple of good Reddit threads. I enjoyed the one of this is an amazing quest. It's always a good one to see. It was nice seeing certain things that people pick up on. Interestingly, is people focusing on stuff that wasn't intended. There was an awful lot of that discussion, which I found quite funny. Because there were some people in one thread discussing a thing that we don't even mention in the quest, which I found quite fascinating. But they were going off on a complete tangent with that. And I left them to it. Have some fun. Yeah, what about you, Shrew?
Yeah, I mean, there was a good handful, like you said, there's some really nice comments and things on Reddit, and a few people tagging me in some really nice comments. Some of the ones that I really liked seeing was there was a couple of threads or comments about the lab puzzle, just because it was something obviously I worked on with Modraulian. It was I loved it for the fact that I get to sit down, pen and paper, sort of thing and work out this thing. And a few people were talking about doing exactly that, and yeah, I mean, I liked that.
that gave that little bit of joy that it kind of got done exactly how you hoped it would do. You know, I can really understand that. You talked a bit about Raven, and we're just going to, after this we're going to go into audio. We've got some more cool stuff as well. You talked about like there's a lot of talk about things that you did not really intend. Were there aside from the lore side of those things, were there other things that happened that you were not expecting with this release as well?
I mean, obviously the bugs. There are always a couple of things that go wrong, and genuinely, like, we have no way of expecting them. So, I mean, there was the crash from the cutscene, which, given that it uses existing tech, is quite surprising. That's why I'm asking for bug reports, because we don't know why it's happening, and it shouldn't be happening, and we can't replicate it. So the more information you have, the easier it is for us to replicate. Similar issue with the there's a few people who find if they use the measure, spoiler, for one particular bit, it sometimes doesn't register, even if you're right next to the person you're supposed to use it by. The fix appears to be to log out and in again, but likewise, it's not a thing that ever appeared. It's not a thing that we were ever able to discover. And we tested this thing a lot. It seems to be something to do with like large numbers of people around the same time, which is very interesting. Because again, this is based on the measure using existing mechanics, so we haven't actually changed how it works. So it's quite interesting when this thing crops up. So like, these things are always a bit of a surprise. That and the people manage to do things who are just going, but how? But how? I mean, you had one true that you saw on a stream, didn't you?
Yeah, I was watching my crew's stream, and it was the escape sequence, which is again something I worked on. And when he failed, at that point you fail, and it's supposed to clean everything up. But somehow he ended up with 2 Thox and 2 Karos running around after him. When, like, we've tested it so much, and even since tested, I mean, we've got a fix for it, but we tested it a lot and still can't replicate it. So yeah, I mean, it will be fixed, but yeah, wasn't expecting to see that.
I'm gonna say a very bad joke right now, but it sounds like a duplication bug.
Duplication.
I'm just gonna tilt a couple of people there, I think.
Kill it.
Just characters this time. Yeah, nice knowing all of you, and no. Yeah, no, but please, if you've got some cool things to share, please share them as well. Like, I know we tend to focus a lot on the bad things, but I think we should also focus a lot on the good things. And I know in particular for the devs, like I as a community manager, we happily take a lot of the rough comments, but I know that a lot of us JMods tend to read our chat as well, or the threads and everything, and they are more likely to actually get hurt by them. So if we can also give them some love and cool messages at times, that is equally important. So please keep doing that as well. With that done though, I like how the chat is still talking about it.
You've sent the chat.
Without that, we already listened to the music before we started with this live stream, and these were some amazing audio tracks that are part of Desperate Measures. And we've got Motsurma, one of the geniuses behind those tracks, with us, and he's going to take us through a little bit of a musical tour with that. So with that, I would like to hand it over to you, Motsurma.
Absolutely, thank you very much. So myself and Mod Ian, we composed all the tracks for Desperate Measures, as well as providing sound design. We have some of which we would definitely like to show you today. I don't know if it's possible to get our small list of all the tracks up. Here we go. So we definitely exceeded the amount of music that we actually were kind of planning to initially provide, but we just got very much into the creative flow, and we ended up with pretty much an album essentially, really, of music for this quest. So as I say, myself and Mod Ian, we worked on all these tracks. Mod Ian focused a lot around the flock themes, which I find very big, grandiose, and more on the comedic side of things, which fits Fox's character very well. Whereas I focused more on writing music for Karapak and in his areas and stuff like this. So, without any further ado, we should perhaps go and listen to the first track on our list, which is An Echo Throughout Time. And this features in when we kind of learn more about Karapak's past and his history, and kind of why why he is where he is today. I don't want to spoil too much, but this is kind of looking back in time essentially. And my thoughts for writing this piece of music was create a very kind of textural and relaxing atmosphere. So we'll give that a listen.
I think it's looping, isn't it?
Sway. I saw someone in the chat mention something about meditation, and this is something that when I was speaking to Mod Rawley about, he was talking about how he wanted the music for this particular place to be very heavily influenced by meditation and Buddhism, and I thought I kind of took these ideas and tried to kind of implement that into my track. The next track is also kind of features in this area, which we'll just.
Oh, I was going to ask you a question about this one first.
Sorry, by all means, go for it. Yeah.
Like you were talking about like this being like this back in time and learning more about that. Like, what are for you like the elements in the song that capture that part of, or like these hints in there? Was it just the overall feeling?
Yeah, so it was very much about kind of unearthing and unraveling the past, really, and it was I almost kind of wanted it to kind of be like I know this might sound strange, but when I was writing, I imagined like a book. You were kind of reading a book, and if you pictured someone reading a book and reading all the lines, and you kind of learning through that. I know it's a really strange, maybe creative process, but it just kind of helped me get in that kind of vision and that zone. And I can only hope that kind of came across in the music.
Is that a bit where that mysteriousness of it comes in there as well? Because for me, it has like a mysterious vibe to it as well.
Yeah, totally. It's mysterious. What was the words that Mod Rawley just gave me some words to kind of work around. He said kind of mysterious. That's the only word I can really remember, to be honest. But mysterious, definitely mysterious, and just quite atmospheric, ambient-ish, and just let the music kind of accompany the scene, really, not kind of intruding too much, but being there.
Okay, thank you for that. What are we going to listen to next?
What did it call? Unraveling the Past. No, Unraveling the Past. Okay. So that's just kind of continuing that kind of same theme, but that's in a slightly different part of the story in the quest.
I like the higher pitched jingle in there. I don't know. It's very catchy. I like it. It reminds, for me personally, it even gives me like vibes of like the all the games that I played. I don't know which one specifically, but I'm getting these vibes from it, which are really good. I like this one. It was a nice beat for me personally. Any elements in there that you'd like to call out, or difficulties that you had when you made it?
Making it kind of interesting but not boring, because it's quite, it can be, when you're kind of creating these kind of slow tracks, you want to make sure that it's kind of catchy but not like boring, and it's just kind of getting that middle ground between kind of ambient in the background but not too ambient and not too kind of boring, really. I think that's generally it, but it was just kind of going with the flow and making sure that it's kind of supplementing and complementing the story.
Is that the balance of like making it interesting but not boring? Is that like always a difficult thing you have to balance when you're making a soundtrack, and is that something you pay close attention to as well?
I mean, it's always got to be good and interesting, right? You can't make, I'm going to make a boring track today, it's not. It's always got to be interesting, but it's just, I guess it's just making sure that you are making the song interesting, and I guess in this case, it was taking, the piece of music was slightly taking a back seat, and it just, as I say, just complementing the story. Yeah, I mean, generally that's the kind of the idea and the vibe.
Fair point.
Cool. And after that, we have a completely different kind of track. This is Karapak's Lair, which is a bit of an upbeat, loud banger, I guess.
Banger.
We'll go away with that.
This is a proper kind of soundtrack.
So when I was writing this piece of music, I knew it had to be really quite like in your face. When you enter the lair itself, for those who've played it, you see this huge kind of place, and you're like, the music has definitely got to kind of match that environment and that space. And I don't often use electric guitar, but I just definitely thought I've got to get some real kind of meat in this, some real power. And it was kind of funny. I kind of just set up my amplifier in my bedroom, because I'm obviously working at home now as opposed to working in the studio. And I did get a few complaints from the neighbours, but hey, whatever. I got a good track, right? I got a good track, so that's what's most important, really. Neighbours, I'm sure they loved it as well, secret, but they just didn't want it to. I don't know. But yeah, no. So it was all kind of just making sure that we get this big sound as soon as you enter the lair, and of course, whilst you're doing puzzles in the area.
Just want to quickly check as well. There was no secret request from Old Raven to make it like an intro march for when he wants to dominate the world, right? Like it was actually for the quest, not for any other plans.
But hey, you never know. If Old Raven wants to use the track, he's more than welcome to.
just checking. I saw it in chat, so I think they're onto something here.
Would I ever do such a thing?
No, of course not. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's like is all the audio now that we are making and producing, is that all produced from home as well, then, with the recordings?
Yeah, that's right. All from home. It's just a different working environment, really. Usually, when doing instrumental recording, you'd like to use something like a booth so that you have no like outside sounds coming in to kind of mess up your recording. But because my guitar was really loud and it kind of drowned all the other sounds, all the neighbors, all the birds outside. So
is that the is that the workaround? So instead of having a professional booth, it's just make it extremely loud to try and make it as good as possible. Okay.
I think you've always got to use a booth, really. But obviously, in my particular situation, I couldn't.
Does it make the creation of the audio does it make the process more difficult, or does it change much?
Yeah, it does, because usually we're using something called MIDI as opposed to recording audio, and it's just a different creative approach, really. If you're a bad instrumentalist or you haven't picked up your guitar in a few months, guilty. You kind of like, how do I do this again? Like, my technique is slightly off, so I've got to kind of record that a few more times to make sure I hit every note perfectly and in time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just find it fascinating. You've got another track lined up for us, don't you?
I do. So this is the track which plays when you are fighting the beast in the Lair, and this is called Caged Guardian. So again, when writing this piece of music, I knew it had to be big, dramatic, epic, and I thought, right, I'm going to bring in some more guitars to kind of continue from the previous theme, and generally again complement and supplement the fight. I also listened to some of ED2 and ED3 music, which has been written by Mod Slippers and Mod Ainty, and just kind of get an idea of kind of like what kind of vibe they went for as well, because there is some relation between ED3, I believe, and this boss fight.
Mm-hmm. Were there other places you drew your inspiration from, or was it mainly from existing music in RuneScape, or did you listen to another couple of things that you were like, I wanna catch some elements from this genre or these songs in there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, mostly I knew I had to go for kind of like a bit of a gritty and grungy kind of sound. I listened to all the pieces from ED3 and ED2, and they definitely had that kind of grit to it. And I thought, right, I'm going to try and do that myself as well. That was the main goal, really, just to keep it within that kind of bubble, within that sound, within that tone, and just obviously kind of picking out influences from my life, really, my musical journey, making it big, making it epic as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just quickly addressing this in chat. The people are talking about Elite Dungeons 4. I'm going to be disappointing you guys, but there's nothing like that in development at the moment. So sorry for ruining the hype there. But yeah, you've got one final song, don't you?
Yes, the final piece of music that I wrote for this area is called Kneel to Your God, and this is accompanying a tragic event which occurs in the quest.
I love this one.
We can play. Gotta hand it to you guys. There you go. A song for a tragic time.
I noticed a bell in there that you also used in the other songs.
A bell.
I think the bell.
Yes.
Or is that something you did on purpose? It's not like very early on. You've got like this ting or like this. Can you play the first 3 seconds again, Motspear? Are we getting them? I don't think Motspear's. So I can't hear you if you talk. That one.
I like the big.
And then there's like the high pitched sound on it. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So that's,
I was like, is it me or am I wrong here?
Yeah. So
I love that your interpretation of that sound was like some demented chicken being kicked. It was doing.
We sound designers have this kind of tendency. Yeah, that's right. So, obviously this is all Carapac. This is Carapac's story using instruments which are kind of shared between all the tracks, kind of unifies all the tracks together. Yeah, it's like a Asian. If it's the correct bell that I'm thinking, that we're referring to, it's a small Asian bell, like that, which are exactly how it sounds in the track.
So you're really trying to kind of like. I would now be curious. Like we've got thousands of songs, right? But now, if you were to listen amongst all of them, would you then still be able to probably make these kind of groups like you've done with the songs for Desperate Measures, where you've got like these commonalities with the bell, with those kinds of vibes that you're still able to figure out part of the story?
That's the plan. Perhaps if say we have more story being developed for Carapac, then I might refer back to themes I had here, or even themes in other places in the game. But the idea is to try and kind of make things consistent and have some sort of like journey with all the music, I guess. Making sure that they all kind of connect to one another.
Yeah, I just find it fascinating. Like these are just smaller things that even use the other theme think about as well, because that's not something that would come up in me if I were to make music or something for it, which I think is really cool. The other question I had is, there are some voices in that song in the last one, or like some like chanting, choir kind of stuff. Is that recorded by you as well then, or did we already have that in our audio bank?
If only I could sing that well, but unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. No. So that's a sample library, a MIDI sample library that we have.
Okay.
And it's just it's just just a bank of sounds really that we can use to compose with. As much as I would like to sing, I'm not there yet. One day, maybe. One day I'll do that.
Keep practicing.
Keep practicing in the shower. That's where I'm best, really.
Yeah. It's the echo that helps there, doesn't it?
I think it's just the general noise of everything else covering my bad singing. Maybe. And ideally we would love to kind of record like a real singer or a real choir, but of course, in our kind of current working environment, that's not always quite practical and possible. But perhaps when things maybe get better, we have the opportunity, we'll definitely do that.
Thank you for all these. I'm gonna pass the ball to Raven and Shrew. Before we do, I've got a question to them first. It's like, is there a song that we listen to, or one of the other songs that you really like as well, from the Desert Measures in particular?
I particularly like "Kneel to Your God." I listened to it a few times. You sent me the sample version. I was like, yes. And I do have a question. Like, is the music going on Spotify? Because I need it for my D&D game.
Right, of course, yes. How could I forget? Right?
You stole my lines. You stole my lines, Raven.
Oh, sorry.
So the mastered version of all the tracks by myself and mod Ian T will be released on Spotify in the near future.
Wicked. Oh, beautiful. Did you have a favourite song, or do you like all of them, Shrew?
I think my favourite... I'm not going to be able to remember the name, sorry. But the one in
Describe it, sing it for us.
Definitely. Oh yeah, you definitely don't want to hear that. Carapax Lab. Definitely.
Cool. Thank you very much, Motsoma, for the audio showcase a little bit and taking us through all the audio. I believe you're going to bounce and going to do some other more important things again. Am I right?
Well, I will be bouncing
soon. Or you're
absolutely.
sticking around. You're more than welcome to stick around as well. Just saying. But
No, okay. No, if this is a good time, then I'll definitely make room for the other mods. But thank you for having me, and always a pleasure to talk about audio for RuneScape. And I hope to see everyone very soon.
Yeah, see you soon again. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So do I just kind of close my...
I imagine we're going to get a transition.
Just close the tab, yeah?
Just close it.
Okay. Bye all. Bye.
Oh, there we go.
It would have been so much fun if we just come back and he was still there.
Oh,
didn't think he'd closed it.
These are quality transitions. I think actually if we go back now, we would probably see us still the last frame of his webcam as well. We won't do that because usually they're not that flattering. But yeah, we've talked a bit about the art, the art of audio, I'm going to say. Oh, beautiful segue to cover my slip up there. But we've also got the two developers here of the quest, and I kind of want to talk a bit about the development of the quest as well, which I think is an equally important process. I think the reason we're not talking as much about art is because we mainly would want to show concept art, which would be very spoilery. Right now, we are also giving some spoilers, but less so. So that those of you who haven't done the quest yet can still do it, of course, which is pretty cool. Quick question in between. Mod Raven, would you like to be the dad of Lou CB? just a quick question in between.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, there's your answer. Got that one sorted.
I've got to say that the chat today is like
they're good. They're on point.
Full on weird. There's been some beautiful weirdness. I approve wholeheartedly.
I just don't understand why apparently I'm so serious. I mean, sorry, I've seen that so much.
I think you've got the best smile out of all of us here as well, Shrew.
I just can't stop.
Yeah.
We're very serious.
Yeah, so both of you did the majority of the development. Rowley helped a little bit with the puzzle as well. Were there other developers also involved?
We had Mod Orion as well. Mod Orion came in. He got the boss fight up and running and tweaked it. He also helped out with various other sections. I can't remember specifically which ones because there was a point where we all kind of went, grab things, make it work. more orderly than that. Obviously, we have sensible processes, but it's a bit trickier with this one. Like, this is the first sort of the project that we've devved from an entirely different buildings, largely over Zoom and stuff, which has made it interesting. I think is a fair way of putting it.
Mod Rally also did the dream sequence.
Sorry, someone's just asked, why did he write a journal and leave it there for us to mess up his lab? It's like, because sometimes, guys, you need to have the ability to actually play the game and solve it. Like, Kerapak could have made impervious defenses, in which case we'd have gone, well, you tried, game over. It's just not fun, is it?
I mean, it's even with lore and such as well, right? Or like with every movie you watch, like the villain will always do something stupid, or like just before he's about to murder you or whatever, he tells his whole master plan and then you escape, right? Like, it's part of it almost. I feel like, of a good story, or like it's like a cliche that you almost have to tick off personally.
It's not always the case, but yeah, there's quite a few times when you have to kind of pull they do something stupid, or I mean, in this case it was a delivery mechanism for being able to solve the puzzle, because everything you need is in that lab. It's in the book, it's on the wall. I mean, it's your puzzle, Shrew. I'm talking for you. Do you want to go for it, or?
Well, I mean, from a story point of view, yeah, we need there needs to be a way of clearly, well, not clearly, but a way of hinting at what the answers are, without directly just going, here's this, that you need to put this here, you need to do that. And I mean, we kind of did do that in the journal. Like, it was like, Bick in this location. Oh, well, probably shouldn't have said that, because people might have played it. But anyway, but yeah.
We lost the point. Yeah, no, it's alright. I wanted to go back. You mentioned that it's kind of the first thing that we fully produced from home. Well, Raven. Like, what were the things that became much easier or more difficult in that process then, out of curiosity?
So one of the biggest difficulties, so a lot of what we do, and I've mentioned this in other things, a lot, we're not individual people authoring something. It is sort of more or less everything we do is in some ways a group activity, group project, and a lot of the process of designing, developing and stuff comes from bouncing ideas off of people. I mean, a good chunk of previous stuff we developed largely consisted of I used to sit next to Mod Orion, and there'd be times where we just sort of turn and say random ideas of them to see how they stick, which we didn't have this time round. So we had to rely on scheduled meetings or instant messaging or feedback processes, which made it was a bit trickier to get something. We lost some of that organicness. I mean, I think we pulled it together quite nicely. I'm very proud of Desperate Measures. I think it's one of the pieces of content I'm most pleased with that I've worked on. But there were definitely some moments it's sometimes it's manifested in moments where we got someone moved off one project to come and help out with Desperate Measures, and there were times when we thought they had all the information, but they didn't. And this, of course, would have been solved previously because we'd have literally been sat next to them. They'd have bandied questions back and forth, and we'd have immediately got there, no harm, no foul, no problem. But this, because of the way this setup happened, there were assumptions that were made there that we didn't think to, clarify or address, which meant that some issues cropped up. They were solved very quickly, but it's that kind of could have been solved much easier just by literally talking in person.
But we managed to resolve them. We've got a great quest in the end out of
it.
Oh
yeah. I'm very, very pleased with this quest.
Throughout the development of this quest, were there any interesting development stories or bugs that you came across? I mean, you're already laughing, so we'll start with you, Raven.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm reading the chat. I'm just seeing Mod Shrew's both hands.
The second I stop looking at the chat.
I think I'm lagging out, am I?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. You seem fine.
Okay, then it's just the browser tab updating a bit slow, which is fine. Yeah. Was there anything in particular from the development that was interesting to you, Raven?
We had an awful lot of fun with placeholder dialogue. So a lot of this, several pieces of this quest were, so the design was done and everyone knew the overall design, but individual elements were of course built separately, and then everything, neatly tied together by the overarching narrative. But this meant that there were certain places that needed placeholder dialogue, and everyone's approaches to placeholder dialogue is slightly different. There are a couple of people who write very sensible things, and then there's our team. And our placeholder dialogue was not sensible, and I was very scared some of it was going to make it into the game, not gonna lie. There were a couple of bits that we definitely could not repeat, but were quite funny. But it's a silly kind of thing, because I realise I'm just word vomit at the moment, but these placeholder dialogue helped us to actually work out the tone and the way things connected together. Even if they were obviously stupid, obviously not real dialogue, I think there were things like, "Oh no, bad thing happening," that kind of sort of level of stuff. But it helped us to actually key things in. And as the person who went through trying to convert everything into the complete flowing narrative, it did get me into sort of the right mindset for certain things, and sometimes it completely shattered my tone because sometimes it got a bit silly.
I think I might have thrown you off possibly once or twice there with my little section of Full trying to rap Karapak, being horrible about his rap, and then Full destroying everything.
Yep.
Sorry.
Is there any placeholder dialogue that made it into the actual game, or did everything get changed in the end?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we caught it all. I hope we caught it all.
It was not ready for public consumption. I'm guessing from that.
Not at the placeholder levels, no. They never are at the placeholder level.
Yeah, but like
we take writing the writing of everything quite seriously. We try and go through a very sort of lengthy process, get feedback, make sure it works as well as we possibly can. But the placeholder dialogue is not intended to be that at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to jump to the other side, because I know, what's true, you did the Stampede thing that you mentioned as well, which I think is probably together with the puzzles, probably more outstanding kind of thing in the quest, to kind of keep it vague. Could you tell a little bit about that, how that went from a development side, or how it was as a whole?
I mean, I wouldn't agree that necessarily that's just the standout amazing pieces of stuff, because there is an awful lot of fantastic points there. But no, it was actually the first thing I grabbed when coming onto the project, and like we kind of knew we wanted this defense encounter. We knew we wanted, and also at this point we knew Thox Stick was going to be one of the rewards. Which is where kind of I went with kind of the whole, like, the player gets to experience actually using Thox Stick, and maybe all of Thox's stories about how strong he is really aren't fake. And yeah, so that's kind of went with that. And at the time, actually, I was playing a lot of a game called Dungeon Defenders, and kind of the whole thing about having moving, essentially towers, not towers, but moving characters, which will you strategically place, is kind of where I pulled some of that inspiration from. So yeah, like with that, and then there was kind of a few iterations of that, and from like when you were saying about bugs, dev bugs. At one point, I submitted some work, and once one of the dinosaurs spawned, instead of just going straight for the archaeologists, it just went off, killed Doc, killed Karos, Laniakea. And yeah, that was probably one of my more favourite bugs, just because it just went on an absolute rampage and you could not do anything about it. But no, it was great fun working on.
Okay, about the Stampede stuff, because you see some big boys attacking you.
Big boys.
Some big boys, some big dinos. I know in the beginning, I'm curious how we resolved that, but like some of them would be too tall to fit through the arch.
That had to be removed.
Yeah. So can you elaborate a little bit of what happened and what we did to resolve that as an issue then?
I mean, it was just there was an arch. The dinosaur walked through it, so we just had to remove it. It wasn't really that exciting. I mean, it didn't get stuck. Like it didn't hinder progression. It was just yeah.
There's more than a few times where we've done this kind of thing where we've gone, this thing's too big to get through here. What do we do?
Destroy it.
Will they notice if we just remove that?
I mean, it's the same.
A lot of the time, they don't.
It's the same in Saren's Council, where the first floor just turns into like a TARDIS, where suddenly creatures can kind of clip through the roof, right?
I remember a few times getting a bug about if you add keep roof on that thing, because you just get the model sticking to the top. And I largely just went, leave it, because if someone is in that building and has keep roof on, then they don't want to be seen, and they're deliberately looking for those kind of silly moments. So I thought, let them have it. Like we couldn't, fix the walls in time. So we thought, they want a bug, they want a weird glitch, let them have it. Harmless.
All right. I've asked the majority of the questions that I kind of wanted to ask about desperate measures here today. I don't know if there's anyone in chat that has a cool development question about desperate measures. Then I would like to ask those. I saw a couple of other things throughout as well, which were not so much desperate measures related, but I'd like to address them quickly as well now. Can you still get yak track skips from the beach? Yes, you can. We did reduce the rate at which you would get them last Friday, top of my head. So that's why you might encounter them slightly less frequent. There was another question from Rewalk about double keys on RuneScape 3 if you purchased a specific package, and that you did not receive the double keys. That is something we did find, and we I think has been resolved. You should have got the keys that you were missing. Apologies for that, but that is also resolved. We've got those two. Let me go up a bit to see the questions. So this is a question I think we can answer, and it's probably not a very satisfying or the good answer. Inspector asks the question: can we have some kind of mini game, which is very similar to the tower defense or the stampede with the dinos?
I literally just cut out. Sorry.
You
I
cut out.
Something tower defense. Oh, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, it could have been that I cut out, I don't know. There was a bit, Inspector asked if we would potentially see the dinosaur stampede as a mini-game.
I mean, currently there isn't a plan to do that.
Yes.
It's definitely not impossible. We could do it, potentially, anyway. I don't want to make promises. But, there's no plans at the moment to do that.
Yeah. There are no plans. We had some very early on in the designs. I think it was something that got discussed. But, like, in the end, it was not something we wanted to continue with.
There were discussions early on in the project as to whether or not we should do it. And, we decided against it for the time being.
Did you see any other question that you would like to answer as well, Molten Raven? Because I know you've been staring a lot at the chat.
There was someone who wanted to ask what I assume that is behind me, which is my staff of the evil.
You use that. You're gonna use that for your world domination, right?
Always. It was actually it was my 10-year anniversary, a gift from Jagex, and it was based on design that Legend Arts drew for me.
Okay, oh, that's
awesome.
actually really cool. I didn't know that bit
Yeah, I
behind
got it custom made, and it's one of my favourite things, and always gets good looks when I wield it out. That sounds really dodgy. So pretend I didn't say that.
Cool. All right. I see a bit about Claudia kill count. I don't think there's a way to currently see your Claudia kill count. So that's that. A bit about the live guide title. I don't know. Myself, so I can't give you an answer for that. If you can tweet it, I can potentially see if I can figure out something for you. Then there's one other thing that, or the two things we're going to go into the winding it down part of this. On Thursday we will be back, or more, JD will be back, and he's going to be back with one of his famous quality pub quizzes. So make sure you're ready for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've still got Twitch Prime. You get your Umbral chest. Make sure you get those. I know you don't have the banner ready for it, Miltspear, so it's fine. We miss those at times. We don't have a banner yet, I'm hearing, which is even better. But yeah, they are guaranteed purple, so make sure you get them. Quite nice. And then before we go, I have to say that you're a cutie, Miltspear. And that's kind of where I wanted to end the stream on, if that's okay.
You're a cutie too.
Aww, how wholesome. Yeah, if
You
there's...
both make me
You
vomit.
too, Mod Raven.
I refuse.
Yeah, no, so thank both of you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being behind the buttons as well, Miltspear, and of course we had Miltsoma earlier. Make sure to, if you want to stay in touch, make sure you follow them on Twitter. If you've got more questions about Desperate Measures, these are your people on Twitter as well. They are the expert. You can also tag me, I'll try and answer, but the likelihood of me giving you a nonsense answer is quite big. What are you laughing about, Mother Raven?
Oh, I saw things in the chat.
All right.
Things that I shouldn't have seen in the chat that were very wrong, but amused me, even though they should be.
Good. So with that said, I think it's time to say goodbye. So look after yourselves and tot ziens.